And in that itself, I came across a Bitcoin trading bot, a Python program of misunderstandings and wrong information with respect to blockchain that exists, and a lot of hype also that exists. My deep research had led me to realize
Thank you very much for joining me on my very first podcast, sir. I feel very honored to have you on my podcast as a first guest. So, to kick things off, so firstly, I'll ask you to please introduce yourself to the audience so that they can come to know about what you are, what you're building, what you're doing, what are you up to in your life.
Yes, so thank you so much for having me in your podcast.
So it's our pleasure.
I am Rohan Sharan. I'm the founder of Timechainlabs. I have been running this company for the past 2 years, and I have been in the blockchain space since 2015. So it's about 8 years now since I have been in the Bitcoin and blockchain space. And I'm also the BSV blockchain ambassador for India.
Right.
And yeah, over to you.
Right, sir. So you seem to have been graduated from IIT Kharagpur, right? So when we were passing out from the 12th class, we had this aspiration of getting into IIT, but then this misfortune, misfortune of COVID creeped in between, and we could not manage to get one institution for us and then get into IIT. So brief us about your journey of JEE and getting into this IIT.
Oh yes.
Yeah. How interesting has it been? Like, we're curious to know about it.
It has been the formative years of my life when I was in IIT. I was also exploring, but before getting into it, I was very much into mathematics, Olympiads, and a lot of research. So that helped me make it easy for me to get into JEE, since I was already into competitive exams.
Right.
And in a very competitive environment itself when I was growing up. And that helped me get into IIT. And once in, I was very focused on my own path, my own research. Right. I wasn't very much involved in following the beaten path, get a job, and then get another IIM after IIT, and then get one of the tech companies job and just follow that path. Instead, I was pursuing everything on my own that I could research, and that's how I came across Bitcoin in my second year itself, in my journey of researching different things, exploring my interests, and just performing the subjects I love the most and ignoring the subjects I didn't care about.
Yeah.
That was what I was doing in IIT.
Going into your honor and achievement section of your LinkedIn profile, sir, I came across you were All India ranked 9 in the All India Mathematics Olympiad, sir. So, like, was this in your 12th class only, or you did it?
No, I was very active since around 7th itself. So in 12th, I had done KVPY. Before that, I had done the Regional Maths Olympiad. As I was telling you, right, I was doing multiple competitive exams.
At times, right.
All competitive exams pretty much. So yeah, that is what had kept me very active in clearing JEE also.
Or do you think this tag of IIT with the name has fairly put you on a good advantages than the rest of the people who
I certainly
in
think
this
so.
journey of building a company?
Yes, I certainly think so. Not in the initial phase.
Right.
Initial phase, it was just me selling and networking and connecting with people at conferences and places. So that was on me itself, since not many people even knew about IIT that much outside of India.
Right.
If you go, and not many people will know in Europe and other places.
Right.
So those initial phases were totally on the same par. But later on, when in India I am talking to people, mainly, doors open more easily.
Right.
They are open already, much more easily when I have the IIT tag.
Right, fair. So right, apart from this IT thing, like you've been into the startup and you've been building your own company with the name of Timechainlabs. So tell us more about it. Like what it is about, and how do you think this your company is going to get, benefit to the world and impact the societies?
Yeah, so there's a lot of misunderstandings and wrong information with respect to blockchain
Right.
that exists, and a lot of hype also that exists. My deep research had led me to realize the fundamental use cases and the scalability and actual application of blockchain as a technology to use it to build different solutions rather than different token cycles and having people invest into different coins,
right.
which keeps going on. And that's why our company name also, which was formed as Timechainlabs, the Timechain word itself, it was a key word used by Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. In the source code of Bitcoin also, he keeps mentioning the blockchain as time chain.
Right.
He actually never calls it the blockchain. He himself calls it time chain pretty much. And if you try to get what it is really the time chain, which is recording events in time. Any event or any data that happens at a particular moment of time, it's recording, it's made to record that such that it cannot be tampered with or changed in the future. So that is the property of the blockchain, which is really valuable. And we have been building solutions to enhance the use case of the ledger, because that's where the fundamental value of Bitcoin is also coming from. If the ledger of Bitcoin, which is the time chain, is useless, and if it doesn't have demand, then Bitcoin, which is used to pay transaction fees to make transactions on the ledger, that doesn't have any demand or value.
Okay.
And then the Bitcoin also doesn't have any value. So it's a very fundamental economics that grounds the entire Bitcoin economy, and that's all built on the utility of the time chain and the usage of it as a shared ledger, and that's what we promote and enhance the use cases of.
Right. So in simple terms, if you had to like explain someone what actually this blockchain and Bitcoin is, like take me like as I'm 5 years old child, and you have to explain this. What does this blockchain mean? So how would you go about it?
Yeah, the way I would go about saying it is, imagine a public wall
Right.
that is getting extended every 10 minutes.
Okay.
And you are getting to write on the wall for anyone to read.
Right.
And that is the public blockchain essentially, that anyone can write upon and anyone can read from. And every write or read is a transaction. Everything that happens is a transaction on the public wall. And that's what, when we are saying that we want to utilize the blockchain, we want to actually write on the blockchain. So there is a demand to write on that common public wall that keeps getting extended every 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes you have a new block of wall that's added essentially to the chain of blocks that's making the history of every event that happened in time. Since 2009 this started.
It's getting simplified,
Since 2009 it started, and the first block was made. Imagine the first block of wall, which had some data inscribed. So Satoshi actually published a newspaper article on the first block. And then we had more blocks added every 10 minutes. It just keeps getting extended.
All right. So the perception of blockchain, as in me being the newbie, was this key. There's this security thing associated with this. Blockchain helps you in securing your transactions and all the stuff. So what is this security? You didn't talk about it.
Yeah. So it follows a new concept of security, and that is to secure by separating the information which is identifiable, your own private data, from the data that's published on the blockchain. General model of security is that the entire website is firewalled. Like let's say you are logging into ICICI or some other website, you must have noticed they keep logging you out in 10 seconds of inactivity. and
the session gets
session
expired.
gets cancelled, and that's a bad user experience.
Yeah.
And that all happens because the model there of security is to cut access of again and again, and try to protect it that way. But a truly secure system does not need to cut off access every single time, because it is not restricting in access. It's more public. It's a totally public ecosystem. It essentially flips the security model in such a way that everything is public. It's very public, and still it's more protected because it's more public. So it's a public evidentiary system in which everything is public, and the more public it becomes, the more secure it becomes, because the more people have heard at this moment in time this thing happened, and no one can deny that at this moment in time this, let's say a hacker.
That's a kind of that's a strong validation from the people.
Yes.
Which makes you or gives you this sense of security that it's secure.
Yeah.
But then, sir, I couldn't understand. I basically could not comprehend how something is getting public, or if it's getting more public, it's becoming more secure. How does that happen?
Yeah. So it's a public evidentiary system.
Achha.
So imagine I'm shouting at the top of my voice that this happened here at this moment in time, right? The more people that hear it, the more witnesses there are that this thing happened. They are able to vouch for, okay, this thing happened, right?
Okay.
The more people, the whole
witnesses,
world, let's say, the whole world, if it is a witness that this happened in moment in time, then that will be a strong claim that cannot be denied by anyone, right? So that is the model of it. It's a public evidence trail, evidence system in which people are publishing evidences on the time chain. And it's getting publicized more and more. The more it's publicized, the more secure that event is that happened, and the more hash power, that's essentially showing the witness power, how much witnesses you have to support your claim that this event happened at this moment. The more private it is, so that's the model of it. So let's say hacker is trying to hack into your system, and I'm having a system of logs getting kept on the blockchain. Right, so every log that is of access to my system is getting recorded on the blockchain. Now that's getting a public evidence system utilized. Now the hacker, the first thing he tries to do is try to remove the logs, erase the logs. Now that is already recorded on the time chain, and that's publicized everywhere that this is the access.
Okay, so the hacker
cannot remove the logs of the past.
Oh.
So that's how strong the effect comes when you have a trace and integrity system of data.
Yeah, it's a bit simplified for me now. I could understood to the maximum extent of the things you mentioned. Okay. Apart from this, I wanted to know your personal aspirations of getting started with this blockchain thing. What did you just saw in this technology which basically pulled you off to pursue this thing and taking this forward?
Yeah, the most important aspect that has driven me and it grabbed me also initially was the sound money aspect of Bitcoin.
What is it?
It being a commodity that is honest money. So honest word has been mentioned and honest ledger has been mentioned 14 times in the Bitcoin white paper of having an honest money system. And when I was in my college days,
could you please elaborate what this sound money wala concept is?
Yeah, so current banking system, the way it's structured, money is printed in a demand basis whenever there is a demand for debt. Central bank issues more currency in the economy, and that way the prices keep rising if you see, and inflation happens. So alternative system which was similar to how the gold system worked in ancient India also, and how Bitcoin also works, is to have a limited supply of known supply of money that's there, and that cannot be just diluted whenever it's required. So it's hard money. It's very hard money. And it's an innovation in that aspect of having a honest money system in society. And when you have an honest money system in society that's more traceable and more auditable, then you have a more honest society in general. And that builds a society which is better, where earning money is not bad. Earning money is a very good thing that is very hard to do and it's very respected to do. And we want to have that kind of a system the more it is going in prevalence, the better the world also becomes. Right now, the entire ecosystem is hyper consumeristic, very consumer centric economy is running right now. That's also because of the money system, which is promoting more consumerism.
Right.
In the Bitcoin type of model, we have a production centric economy instead of a consumption centric economy, and that creates more of savings and production cycles instead of more consumption and hyper consumption cycle. So it's just better for the world, also more sustainable, and just better economics that happens with Bitcoin. And that's what gravitated me towards Bitcoin, as it solved the fundamental problem that plagues the world, which is the financial system itself being wrong.
Right.
And that's what creating most of the other problems. So if we solve the basic fundamental problem, we solve the rest of the problems. And yeah, so that's what gravitated me towards it.
You said that you started this off all in your second year only, right?
Right.
So did you have this chunk of research over this blockchain by that time? And
I knew about economics very well in my research. After around my first year vacation itself, I had learned quite a lot about how the banking system works.
Right.
And I was very depressed also of how it works, learning how it works, and wanted a solution.
Right.
And just at the end of that year itself, I got the solution in terms of Bitcoin.
So you hadn't this any kind of notion of your own branch that you pursued for, like, industrial, was it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like discarding that, and you are just getting into this blockchain from the start of your college only. Like doesn't it like make you feel a bit odd than the word rest?
No, not at all, not at all. In IIT, everyone pretty much pursues their own interests.
Right. So you were allowed to do
yeah,
this.
Yeah, so never I was guilty that there's anything outside of my branch. And my branch is also very interesting. It always supported, the teachers also always supported us to venture. In fact, the way I came across Bitcoin and blockchain was that I was doing a course called Information Systems Lab in my department, in my core department itself.
Interesting.
And in that, the teacher wanted us to learn Python on our own and show a solution to her after vacations. So I was researching on the network, or the LAN network, of how to have a Python program written. And in that itself, I came across a Bitcoin trading bot, a Python program. That's how I came across it. And I thought, okay, wow, that's interesting. What is Bitcoin? I just researched, and then off to the races.
Okay, so that's why your like journey of getting into this started off primarily.
Yes.
Okay. So, sir, what are the challenges you're facing basically in the current thing of yours which you're building right now, and how do you this the ecosystem of this blockchain is going to transform like 10 years down the line, and this for the betterment of global, or for the betterment of fintech, or this finance industry? How do you see this?
Yes, so as you mentioned, fintech particularly, yes, that is the major application.
For the viewers, just also you can just break it down. What does this fintech means? Like,
yes, so fintech is finance plus technology.
Right.
So that's what makes fintech. So applying technology in fields of financial payments or banking or insurance, the BFSI industry, the banking financial services industry, that is called fintech. Now the blockchain is a ledger as a service, right? Ledger as a service is offered, and that has obvious use cases and implementations in the banking BFSI space, the fintech space itself.
Right.
And our product Newcron is also there, offering just that, an API as a solution of all blockchain use cases, which is of smart contracts or atomic swaps, creating and tracking assets, having payments powered by blockchain. All of those offered as an API for fintech players to integrate and leverage the benefits of blockchain in their current infrastructure. Now what we see is, we envision a future in which The blockchain is at the background of all of the services we use, and it's the plumbing that happens behind the scenes without most people even knowing that it's powered by a blockchain. Just like the internet runs on HTTP protocol,
Right.
and most people do not get to understand or know or even need to understand what HTTP is.
Right.
They just go to the browser and just use it,
Right.
and that's how it will be.
Right.
The blockchain will be powering all the records on the background
Right.
of most of the solutions in fintech that will be running, and it will be just there behind the scenes.
Right. So particularly the question was, what are the challenges you're facing right now in the building, and how do you see this future of this blockchain 10 years down the line? Like, how's it going to be like?
Yeah, so it won't be known popularly at all.
Oh.
It will be all behind the scenes. It will be everywhere, in every service, but all behind the scenes. That is the future.
Okay.
And the problems we face currently is it's not clear. The regulations are not clear. That's the major problem of it to be utilized
Right.
and adopted. And that creates a lot of friction in adoption. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, sir, congratulations on the launch of your new crown wallet, like at the Global FinTech Fest this year only. So, for the viewers, you can just break down the concept of this product that you built, New Crown, and help us understand what exactly and how exactly this is going to benefit us.
Yes, so Nucron is a smart wallet infrastructure.
Right.
We call it smart wallet since we envision a future in which wallets are utilized to interact with the blockchain. That is a gateway to the blockchain. For anyone to develop even an application, wallets have to be there.
Right.
And the API, that is the infrastructure which is provided by Nucron, offers developers like yourself or even fintech agencies to be able to create blockchain wallets for their users all behind the scenes. And they're able to develop smart contracts, have different types of innovative payments powered by the API, but just utilizing the API, and having innovative payments like scheduled automated payments, even conversational payments, talking to your smart wallet agent to do a payment on your behalf. All those facilities and capabilities are possible in which multiple agents are connecting with each other, contracting with each other on the basis of smart contracts, and you can build applications all using these features and build your own fintech application which goes to the market next.
Okay, interesting. Okay, apart from this, sir, first thing, I basically did not have this idea of basically what is blockchain as a technology. So for someone who is about to start something with this technology, what advice would you give them to on what are the things they should be stay ready with, or with all the prerequisites, and how they can go about it, this thing, the blockchain as a technology, if they want to pursue this. Like for we the second year, third year students in our college, we do have this aspirations of whenever we like heard that this, for example, I'll give you this example. There are a lot of buzzwords in the market like crypto, like Ethereum. So the first time when I came to know about this blockchain, or I got into this program, I wanted to know this thing from your side only, that there were this buzzwords already in the use in the market. So why did you choose to work with VSV then instead?
Oh yes, there's a big story behind that as well. When
simply just brief us through, like.
Yes. So I was developing on Ethereum. Was the most popular blockchain when I was in my third year as well.
Right.
It had been born in front of me itself when I was in my second year.
Achha.
And I had seen it grow, and there was a problem statement to develop a Instagram clone on Ethereum that we had developed in my third year.
All right.
And that's what started the journey of this smart contract development, where everyone wanted to see a future of dApps. Everyone was building dApps. Right. And Web3 ecosystem was getting born. And then came the problem of scalability.
Right.
of many people came in 2017 to blockchain space. Suddenly a big crowd came and the price also went up, and along with the price the transaction fees also went up,
Right.
because the congestion was happening on the blockchain,
Okay.
on Ethereum as well as on the BTC blockchain. And that created a demand for a blockchain that can scale,
Acha.
that can solve the problem of scalability, and
Right.
it can sustain high amount of transactions, because Ethereum could do about 14 transactions per second. And if we really wanted Web3, the new version of internet,
Right.
14 transactions per second is not enough at all.
Okay.
And neither is the 9 transactions per second that BTC had, Bitcoin. And that's when a fork happened in the Bitcoin community, which created Bitcoin Cash first and then Bitcoin Satoshi Vision later, which are both different forks of the Bitcoin blockchain.
Right.
And when this happened, I realized that these Bitcoin Satoshi Vision was following a protocol which is preserving the original protocol while scaling the block size and while introducing smart contracts, because Bitcoin already had smart contracts. That was a big revelation, that Bitcoin could always do smart contracts, but it was restricted by the developers after Satoshi had left.
Okay.
And it was not allowed to be used to do smart contracts. But then I realized after many technical research is that you can do better smart contracts on Bitcoin the way Satoshi designed it, and also do it in a scalable manner if the block size scales. So what Bitcoin Satoshi Vision did was restore the protocol the way it was supposed to be, without any restrictions in block size or in doing smart contracts. And thus we were able to get a protocol that can scale unboundedly without restrictions. And so essentially imagine this, right?
Right.
You have every 10 minutes you have a new block added. Now every transaction that happens in those 10 minutes across the whole world
Right.
is added in that block.
Okay.
The block is just that
Right.
list of transactions that happen in those 10 minutes across the whole world. Now if the block size is restricted to only 1 MB, imagine the whole world's email in 10 minutes to only 1 MB
1 MB.
size. How many emails can fit? Because each email itself each transaction itself
Certain KBs,
is in some kilobytes. So one Bitcoin transaction, even when it's very compact, it's about 1 kilobyte if it's a good transaction size.
Okay.
Otherwise, if it's very compact also, it's 200 bytes. So if you just divide 200 bytes and 1 megabyte is all you have,
Right.
you can at most have about 5K transactions in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That is coming out, it's almost comes out around 8 transactions per second, something
Okay.
like that,
Right.
per second if you calculate.
Okay.
So that restricts how many transactions you are able to do.
Right.
And people were then having to bid their way into getting that block, otherwise you will be having your transaction added in the next block instead of the current block.
Okay.
That was creating a congestion essentially.
Right.
And that was all artificial because it's unnecessary limitation of 1 megabyte.
Right. It is.
need not
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And the miners actually have to compete, and they can make block sizes of whatever amount depending on demand, right? Demand and supply, that's what creates economics.
Right.
So if there is a huge demand of transactions in these 10 minutes, miners should be able to create big blocks
Right.
that
Indeed.
consume all those transactions. So that's what created the big blockers community.
Okay.
That's the Bitcoin SV side of things.
Yeah.
That's what believed in the big block version of Bitcoin.
Okay.
That could scale. That
Okay.
could scale indefinitely depending on the
Alright.
demand.
Yep.
And that could offer a scalable low transaction. And the more it scales, the cheaper it becomes.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Because it's economy of scale that happens.
Right.
You have, that's like a truck, right?
Right.
You have a lot of parcels in a truck. Each parcel ka transportation fees is very less. Because
True.
that's why train is also very efficient mode of transport, because at scale
True.
you transport people.
Yep.
That's how transportation of transactions at scale in big blocks
Yeah.
makes it cheaper also. Right now the transaction fees of Bitcoin SV also went to 1 paisa for a single transaction, and at the same time the transaction volume has been millions of transactions in a single day.
Single day. Right.
So in the background it is the most used ledger,
Right.
but in popular parlance the chains which are marketing the most become the most popular. So that doesn't matter if you're building for the long term.
Okay.
We're building in a long term manner and building infrastructure on the background such that it will become the why, that's what I was calling it, will become the plumbing or background technology which
right.
will be used as a ledger everywhere and doing millions of transactions per day.
Okay.
And just become the infrastructure.
Yeah, so this was the primarily reason you chose to work with this VSP.
Yes, essentially we got high transactions capacity
Right.
at very low transaction fees with smart contract capabilities.
Right.
And along with compliance, because to make a technology build on something that is compliant gives you more of a leverage to confidently scale your business or application.
Right.
Otherwise, what is happening is many chains. This was also a schism in the community that happened. Is that many people were there who didn't want a solution which was trackable or which was following government regulations.
Right.
And there was this narrative of being blockchain being anti-government or not complying with the government, which was totally not the case.
Which was basically for the reason what?
It was just interest that wanted to utilize the blockchain for purposes it was not meant for.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was unnecessary because the blockchain itself, in the white paper also it was written, it's the honest ledger, honest money system.
Yep.
And it's more useful for the government to instill trust in the people and have more trusted transactions happen. So it's totally made for real business, which have to be compliant, and for that we need a compliant infrastructure. So yeah, that's the reasons why.
So I have two following up questions, then we'll wrap. So first question is about the technology itself.
Yeah.
You said that the VSV uses smart contract as well,
Yes.
right? Smart contract gets involved in this VSV technology as we use it. So what I've heard and read about this smart contract, whenever we wrote, let's say we wrote a code in there. So this smart contract doesn't avail us this privilege to get back to it and reverse, or let's say mix any kind of modification that we want in the code. Let's say once you made the transaction successful, it's already gone on to the next opposite person, he received it, but ho sakta hai that transaction goes to the wrong person, like unknowingly, unconsciously. So if a smart contract doesn't allow us this facility, so we at times how can we like say that this is the feasible to use or efficient to use?
Yeah, got your question. It's a very valid question.
Right.
This was written in the white paper, the very first section by Satoshi himself, that for irreversible transaction on the internet, for irreversible services, it's made for that only small amount of micropayments. It's not made for large amount of payments.
So we have to stay mindful.
And if we have to do big amounts of payments, we can utilize smart contracts which are escrow transactions, in which the payment can still be changed hands and it can be held until a particular moment in time when it is confirmed. Only then you are actually making the payment go through. So for large amount of transactions we can have escrow type of services, and for small transactions it can be instant settlement, instant payment. So that's what he said particularly, because what happens is to add this feature of reversibility, reversibility in a transaction, it introduces a lot of costs for even small transactions in which there is not a need of reversibility. And for services which have already been given, let's say on the internet, for which Bitcoin was made mainly for, it is micropayments. Right? By micropayments I mean payments less than 10 rupees. Globally on the internet. So you can have a payment for, let's say, reading a blog or reading a Wikipedia article. Wikipedia need not beg for money every time you read an article. Instead of micropayment can be deducted. You don't care 1 paisa ka payment hua ya 10 paisas ka hua. You are happy with the article. At the same time, the creator of the Wikipedia and as well as the maintainers of Wikipedia can earn enough money because it has millions of hits per day. Into 10 paisas, they have enough money to sustain itself. They don't have to beg for money. Because imagine the world's biggest, most visited website is not able to earn money because the micropayment system is not there on the internet. That was what Bitcoin was made for, the micropayment system. And for that, you are able to read the articles, so the payment should also have gone, because you are now you cannot say that I'm not reading the article. You have read the article already. It's a irreversible service. So a irreversible payment happens for that, and it's a small payment only, so you don't care also about reversing. So that was not made possible. It was restricted because we had payment service providers who had to provide reversible types of payments, as you mentioned,
Right.
in which payments can be reversed. For that, KYC has to be done on both sides,
Right.
and then compliance has to be there. Then reversibility services also has to be offered on
yeah.
small payments also,
Right.
which increases the cost for small payments and makes small payments impossible, infeasible.
Okay.
So at least small payments to be feasible, which can be irreversible. That's what Bitcoin is made for, at a very high volume. So very high volume, low size of transactions. That's what Bitcoin is there for. In the name itself, it's Bitcoin, right? It's for data. Bit is the unit of data.
Data, yeah.
And also small.
Yeah.
So that's what Bitcoin is for, and that's what it was made for. And the rest of the transactions we can still have with
Right.
escrow types of payments and other.
Yeah,
types of-
got you, sir. Thank you. And okay, so apart from this technology and all, we talk about a lot of tech stack. It's getting like over like some of the things that you mentioned. Literally, I could not understand it. Like slips off my head, like for real. Anyways, apart from this, sir, tell us a bit. It's a bit personal question, and you'd be comfortable enough, I guess, answering this question. So, if you had to mention like few qualities, or let's say one qualities that you can vouch yourself for, which has taken you this far in your journey, what's that?
Being very tenacious.
What does it mean?
Tenacious means not giving up and sticking to my path.
Okay, take us through an instance of your life which basically defines this quality of yours, and you.
Yes, so even while starting this company and sticking to making my own product instead of taking an easier route of taking some job offers I had got, because I had a vision and I had to stick to the vision and achieve that vision, because I had decided I have to do it. Now I'm not backing down from that, come what may. So come all the hurdles that come. There's many hurdles that come, a lot of hardships that come along the way, and it's much easier to back out or back down when a lot of hard work is required.
Right.
But if you have decided something, then that's decided. Everything has to go on the line to achieve it.
Okay, that's one thing. Anyways, guys, if you do guys have any kind of question, you can ask. Or else we'll wrap. Do you have any questions? Aman? Atharvya? Any? Okay, sir. So thank you very much for joining me on my podcast, and it was nice talking to you, sir.
Thank you so much. I hope the best for the podcast too.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.